Every week in the NFL is different. Teams rise and fall based on all types of factors. The members of the Roundtable gather each week to debate the top 10 teams, as well as determine the 5 worst teams better known as the Stinky 5. Hosted by Thomas Brown Jr., this is the Rankings Roundtable.
Is it playing? Am I live right now? Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Rankings Roundtable show, hosted by yours truly. You see it on the bottom of the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, it feels good to be back. I missed you. We all have missed you. But lo and behold, apparently you've missed us too, because we're back with another season of the Rankings Roundtable show. And of course, as always, I did not come here alone. I have my beautiful friends of Team NBS Media joining me tonight to go over their top 10 lists and to embark on the journey that is the NFL season. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on a gentleman, which my Philadelphia Eagles will be playing them this Sunday in the 1 o'clock hour on Fox. It is none other than George Lopez, fan of the Rams. Welcome to the show. How you doing, my friend? How are you?
Thomas, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on. I believe this is the first time I've been on your show, so I'm super excited to be here. Get ready to talk some NFL football with our MBS family. I'm excited. I'm ready to go, brother.
Awesome. Now, going from one team that is in the conversation for one of the best teams in the league to a team who, if you don't have him in your top 10 personally, you're just a hater. He is a huge fan of the Bills. He loves the Bills. He actually just dropped a preview for this upcoming Thursday night football matchup against the Dolphins. I present to you, Mr. Randall. How are you, sir?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. How are we doing today?
Doing good.
Thursday night football, Dolphins, Bills. Let's go.
It's always a pleasure. And then lastly, with the lack of a better term, we are not going to use our leverage for the sake of making sure that he doesn't mess this up. So without further ado, a fan of the Denver Broncos who suffered a brutal loss to the Indiana Jones's Indianapolis Colts, I present to you Keith Richards. How you doing, sir? How are you?
It wasn't a bad leverage call. That's just what you get for being stupid. Why are you rushing on a 60-yard field goal when a man as long as like 54 yards? This is even Sean Payne said it was a bad pay call, and it was.
Oh man, that was brutal. I'm not gonna lie. That was just
great point.
Unbelievable.
As I always say, don't put the game in the ref's hands, and they do it too often.
Amen to that.
Yes. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar with this show, it is very, very simple. We have our guests that share their top 10 lists, and I will share mine. Now, I have learned over last season that out of all the lists that everybody shares, everybody has a problem with mine, because mine over the last 2 years is what have you done for me lately? So a lot of people, unfortunately, can't stand me in my list, but that's okay. We'll save the list for later on in the show. We will get into a team that is starting the year off right, 2-0. Randall, I believe you have a top 10 list to share with us. Break us down why everybody is where they are at. Go for it.
All right. Well, Buffalo Bills first, because we took out the Ravens in a comeback in week 1. They had the biggest odds to win the Super Bowl. We ended up making a 15-point comeback with our MVP, Josh Allen, showed that he deserved the MVP. So they deserve that. We went through the draft, going through full defense. It seems as though that it's working. Our defensive line strategy is to be able to punch you in the mouth on our second string, on our third string depth, and keep going. And it seems as though that's the right path to go. We've got the MVP, Josh Allen. Our wide receivers are separating. That was an issue that we had last year. We had a poor defense against the Ravens because the Ravens is so stacked, but we showed that we can adjust our defense with the Jets, only allowing 26 passing yards and like 106 rushing. So we got both worlds, offense and defense for the Bills. I put the Packers in second because I do believe that the acquisition of their edge rusher, now it's really Micah Parsons, was big, especially because they gave up Kenny Clark instead of giving up Rashawn Gary. I think Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons works really well. Micah Parsons barely had an offseason. He's already got 10 pressures and 2 sacks on that. And the big thing with Micah Parsons filling that defense is he's kind of almost like the perfect complement to Jordan Love. Jordan Love is very much of a YOLO quarterback, and he will throw off the back foot, and he will turn the ball over. The best thing about having Jordan Love, who will sling it and try and score as many points as he can, is if he turns the ball over, he now has Micah Parsons on the other side getting fourth downs or turnovers and resulting that. So if it's a bad stat line for a lot of quarterbacks might be 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But if you have somebody like that on the defense to get the ball back, you're just scoring points and outscoring. Number 3, I've got the Eagles at number 3, reigning champs. My only concerns, they have a very complete team. I put them at 3, and I put the Packers in front. Right now, Saquon Barkley still adjusting with some of the offensive line changes. He's only got 148 yards in 2 games, which is crazy to say, but it's Saquon Barkley. By now, he'd have like 350. So he still has to adjust with that offensive line. And the receivers still need to figure themselves out. A.J. Brown's not getting much of it. Devontae Smith had a pretty good game last game. But it seems as though that the offensive scheme is not gelled yet, and they need to figure that out for sure. So we'll go with that. We'll go with them at number 3. I have the Ravens at number 4. I put them in the back, and it wasn't a little hater. I do think that the Packers and the Eagles are better than the Ravens right now, but I think that they can figure it out, and we're only 2 weeks in. I think my issues with the Baltimore Ravens is that they went and got Jair Alexander, and that left side of the corner is cooked. He got cooked in week 1. Fortunately, they played the Browns in week 2, but he is a big hole on that side, and that's kind of brutal for them. And their offensive line has not looked great in the first 2 games, so they really need to work on their offensive line and get that in. I do think that they'll figure that out, and then at the trade deadline, they'll probably get a corner because Jair is just not having it. He'll probably have another knee injury by then. They're going to have to replace him regardless. Number 5, I have the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm a big fan of the Tampa Bay Bucks. I have Baker Mayfield as a strong runner for MVP before the season started. He had over 40 touchdowns. He hasn't thrown a pick yet. He is a gunslinger. He'll have over 4,500 yards. Their offense is stacked. And Chris Godwin and McMillan haven't even started playing yet for the team. Bucky Irving is probably top 3 running back right now if you take the first 2 weeks out. So their offense is completely stacked while playing with a Band-Aid wrapped offensive line. They moved their center to left tackle. Somehow it's working. I believe Tristan Wirfs is coming back in week 3, so you'll have that line back. So they'll be studs. Their defense does need a little work. Their rush defense is good, but their coverage is not so good. But, they pulled 2 good wins out against the Falcons. And then Monday night, they pulled that win out too. I've got after that, I have the Rams. Okay, I have the Rams next. Yeah, I'm sorry. Stafford, wildly, even though, problems with the back injury, doesn't seem to phase him. He's still throwing it with crazy angles, still doing his thing, which is super impressive. Puka Nacua is still that guy. Their offense, it seems as though Sean McVay, first of all, he's a great scout, and he understands offensive scouting. And he just pulls these people, and he always has a good offense. Like, when in doubt, McVay can play offense, and he's so good at it. So it just never stops for him. And the defense is still young and solid. They're 3rd in sacks. They're 4th total in yards allowed. So that defense is young and still stout, and they'll be ready to go in the playoffs as well. After that, then I have the Chargers. Chargers are on a heater. Herbert is putting himself in the MVP race early. He's doing so well about that. Omari Hampton has good flashes, and he can definitely be that dude, being the 2nd running back taken in the draft last year. And that wide receiver room is working really well together. Trey Harris looks like promises. I'm sure that if Keenan Allen played for any of the 31 other teams other than the Chargers, he would not be as good as he's playing right now. But that connection is just clicking, and Keenan Allen looks 5 years younger than he is, to be honest with you. And I kind of love to see that because Keenan Allen's such a good dude. Quentin Johnson found hands. He must have bought them on the offseason because now he's catching everything. He dropped everything for the last 2 years. That was impressive. And they beat the Chiefs. And they're holding the AFC West, which is something that nobody has done while Patrick Mahomes has been in the league. So that's impressive. Then I finally put the Chiefs at 8. 0-2, still being in the top 10 is impressive for them. So there you go. Honestly, when I watched the Chiefs and Eagles game, I could almost tell a little bit that the Eagles were still reluctant on playing the Chiefs, even though they were such a better roster than the Chiefs. You know, Eagles were running tush-push with 2 yards to gain on 3rd and 2 to ensure that they can get that first down. I saw that as a little bit of a fear when it comes to the Chiefs because everybody is a little bit afraid of the Chiefs, and that's fair. And Spags' defense is still good. When they were doing all-out blitzes on the Eagles, it worked. It was timely, right? So Spags can always dial up defense and try and really get them going and keep them in game. So that was still impressive. So really, I put the Chiefs at 8 being, I think that's the litmus test. I think the Chargers, the Rams, the Bucks, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Packers, and the Bills could beat the Chiefs any day of the week, and then it gets dicey under there. And then 9, I have the Broncos. Bo Nix is that dude. He's playing very well. It does help that he has the highest rated pass protection offensive line, so he's got the most time to throw, but he's slinging it. He's very accurate. Their defense is really good. Thank God Patrick Surtain II did not get a big injury, but they're 12th in total yards allowed and just 9th. They're only allowing less than 200 passing yards per game, so that's really good. They did have the unlucky loss to the Colts with that leverage call, so I don't really acknowledge it that much because I do also think that the Colts are fraudulent. So I think that was just unlucky, and then the Broncos will make their run. And then number 10 was kind of rough. I was going to go with the Detroit Lions or the Commanders or the Seahawks because I think the Seahawks have a top 4 line. But I went with the Lions to stay safe because they did put up a 50-burger on their offensive coordinator that came through. And I was very surprised that Ben Johnson really didn't have much in his bag to keep that game close. What I thought about when I was thinking about that, which, Thomas, you can remember, when Jonathan Gannon went to the Cardinals, yes. I believe the Cardinals won 3 or 4 games, and one was to the Eagles in like week 17 because they had their number. Like, Gannon knew what to do against the Eagles. I was very surprised that the Detroit Lions were able to put 50 on Ben Johnson, knowing how well he was in the system. So they made their comeback. Amon-Ra had his coming out party, and he's one of my favorite wide receivers. He was so good. But the issue with them is their first game was rough, and it showed their holes in there. Their question marks at the center position. Their defense is okay. Like, Aiden Hutchinson only has 2 pressures. He's trying to get back into the mix, so he might still need some time. Losing Alan McNeil in the middle of the defensive line was a little rough because he was a big part of it. And Tyleek Williams, their first-round pick, was supposed to fill that role, and he doesn't bring much interior pressure. He's more run defense, and he's still trying to figure that out. So that middle of the defensive line is kind of rough. So I have them at 10, and then that is my 1 through 10 if anybody wants to destroy it once they go through theirs and tell me how bad it was.
Oh, trust me, Mr. Anderson.
That wasn't bad. I had good evidence.
Randall, we will get to you when we get to you. Okay? Just know that from your host, we will get to you when we get to you. Now, he wasn't the only one that had a top 10 list to share. Keith, I believe you have a top 10 list to share as well. Break it down for us, man.
He's on mute.
I am on mute. I am not on mute anymore. All right. So number 1, let me first say number 1 and 2. I literally had about 39 lead changes when it came to 1 and 2. I could very easily see why people put the Bills at number 1. They both have good wins. Bills over the Ravens, Eagles over the Chiefs. But then I look at the second opponent played. And I think that is where there's a little bit of a thin margin there. Yes, the Bills beat the Jets by a decent amount, but it's the Jets. Whereas the Eagles beat the Cowboys, who did flirt with losing to Dangerous in the Giants, but I just think the Cowboys are a better team than the Jets. Is where the difference came. So I had to put the Eagles at number 1 because of that. But the Bills being number 2 was not a sign of disrespect. If I could do 1A and 1B, I would do that, but we have to do 10. So someone had to be number 1. I decided that was the Bills, or not the Bills, the Eagles. See, I'm still not sure who I want to be number 1.
Lead change.
Yeah. Number 3, I go with the Packers. They had a good win over the Lions. They just look like a different team, at least early in the season with Michael Parsons. I still don't know if I would put them as Super Bowl contenders this early in the season. A lot of things have gone their way early, particularly getting Michael Parsons. You kind of have to wonder how they're going to end up being with their wide receivers in the connection with Jordan Love. I could easily probably put their number 1 if Jordan Love could figure out the touch on his deep passes. He lost probably 3, 4, 5 touchdowns already this season because he can't get that touch right on his deep pass. When he hits it, it's beautiful. When it's not hitting, it's leaving points on the field, and that's going to matter when the season gets going as later down the road, especially if they can't keep some of those receivers healthy. He's going to have to figure that out. You don't expect every pass to be perfect, but when you're on wide receiver 6, you're going to have to help them out sometimes. Number 4, I got the Ravens. That first game against the Bills, I think it doesn't hurt them, but losing the lead the way that they did, I honestly thought about putting them higher than the Packers, even though the Packers are 2-0, but it gives you the same feelings of last season with the concerns that they have with being able to keep leads late in some of those games. You got anomalies of Derrick Henry fumbling, which is really not that much of an anomaly if you look at it in history. Sometimes they don't know or realize they have one of the best football players in the league in Lamar Jackson. They get away from that, and that's probably why they're not making deeper runs in the playoffs, haven't won a championship yet, because the play calling is sometimes suspect. Chargers, I think they having number 5 was a great win over the Chiefs. I feel like they might be turning a corner. It was interesting in their first game against the Chiefs. You have one of the best one possession teams in the league last couple seasons, in the Chiefs. One of the worst one possession teams in the league, in the Chargers. They switched. The Chiefs have lost 2 one possession games in a row, which they had won 17 straight before that. So I think it's a good turn for the Chargers. Justin Herbert's looking really good. I think they're on the ups there. The Lions, I think 6 through 10, you started getting some of the weeds. There's a lot of 2-0 teams. There's a lot of 1-1 teams. So I tried to look at who they played, who they beat, who they've lost to. I think the Lions, they did lose that first game to the Packers, but Packers at number 3. They went out and absolutely demolished the Bears. Partially because I think the Bears are still a bad team. Partially because the Lions remember who they were last season offensively. Thought about putting them higher, but I don't know if I just can't based on just how bad they looked against the Packers. But I think 6 is a good spot for them. The Colts, who saw this coming? With Danny Dimes. I mean, maybe they are a little bit fraudulent, but I can't really think about how they're going to look in week 15. I can only think about how they look right now in week 3. And in week 3, maybe a little bit of a luck against the Broncos, but you kind of make your own luck when you're a good football team. It was a ballsy call to go for that 60-yard field goal instead of maybe trying for a Hail Mary, and it paid off when Sean Payton did something really stupid and tried to block a 60-yard field goal. So I can't fault them for who they played and how they won. They've won. The Rams, I know they are 2-0. Matt Stafford looks a lot better than what we thought he would, especially with that back. The reason I have them a little bit lower than some people might is they really haven't played anyone that good yet. I just got to see a little more from them. If they can continue to win, if their offense can get better, their defense can keep playing the way that they are, I think they have the potential to be top 5 as far as Super Bowl contenders if they stay healthy. If particularly Matt Stafford stays healthy. The Bucks, it's the same thing with them. They've looked good. They really haven't played anyone spectacular either. But definitely Baker Mayfield. Cleveland has to be regretting letting him go instead of choosing Deshaun Watson. He's been great for the Bucks the past couple seasons. They will get better once they start getting healthier at receiver, but for what they have right now, I think they're playing great. I would just like to see it against better competition. And then I didn't know who to put at 10. I put the Niners only because I didn't know who else to put there. I mean, there's 4 teams you could put at number 10. There's nothing spectacular about any of them. I think what maybe gave them the edge is that Brock Purdy's probably going to be back a lot sooner than what they thought. It was tough at 10. I just felt better about the Niners, what it boiled down to.
Sometimes when you make 50 lead changes when making a list, sometimes you just have to settle for something at 10. It happens. It happens. But before we go on to see George's top 10 list and the host of the show and his top 10 list, we'll be having a commercial break. We'll be right back with you.
You are watching Team NBS Media. We are a digital media brand covering sports, entertainment, and lifestyle, with team members all across the country. Through our written content, podcasts, and video content, we bring you fresh and professional content. Interested in joining the team? Shoot us an email or DM. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
All right. We are back with the Rankings Roundtable show, hosted by yours truly. You see the names on the screen. My name is Thomas Brown Jr. We have, depending on how you're looking at this screen, on my right, it is Mr. George Lopez, fan of the Rams. On the bottom right, we have Mr. Randall over here, fan of the Bills. And then beneath me, it is Mr. Keith Richards, fan of the leveraged Denver Broncos. Right beneath me, okay? I'm sorry, Keith, you gotta forgive me. I cannot let that go. Leverage is such an important thing, and usually it's a good thing in negotiation, just not in football, okay?
Not when you're like pushing off on 3 different linemen, especially the center.
Especially the center, you would think. But nevertheless, we will go over 2 more top 10 lists before we get into my favorite list of them all towards the end of the show. And we'll get to that in just a few moments. But before we do that, George, I believe you have a top 10 list to share with us. What does it look like? And explain why, buddy.
Well, I have that sole mantra to quote wrestling legend Ric Flair. To be the man, you have to beat the man. The Eagles are 2-0, defending Super Bowl champions. Granted, they haven't looked great. But until they get knocked off, they're going to be my number 1 team. That's why I went with the Eagles number 1. No one has knocked them off yet. Granted, the offense is sludged right now. They look very slow. They're still figuring out their new offensive coordinator. But I do think they are going to get going. Probably it wouldn't surprise me if they get going this weekend against the Rams. Buffalo is my number 2 team. I actually have Buffalo representing the AFC in the Super Bowl this year. I think this is the year they get over the hump. They impressed me in their win against the Jets. Granted, it's the Jets, but Josh Allen kind of showed that he doesn't have to put it all on his back for Buffalo to win. I think they're going to start using Cook a lot more and become a more balanced offensive attack, and that's going to make them a very dangerous team going forward. Number 3, I have the Packers. When the Parsons trade came down, I still wasn't completely sold on the Packers. Granted, they are a young team, but they have looked very good in the first 2 games. I had to begrudgingly give them credit. What they did to Detroit and how they looked in their second game. They are a very young team, but they're a very good and up-and-coming team, and I just think they have a high ceiling for this season. Now, number 4, I know some people are going to be shocked that I have the Chargers at number 4. I think Herbert is finally maturing into the quarterback Charger fans have expected since he got drafted out of Oregon. He's had some good years, but we saw what he did in the playoffs the last couple of seasons where he just disappeared. But I think getting Keenan Allen it's just made that offense even better. I don't know why Harbaugh let him go last year. I thought it was a mistake, and now to have him back, you see Herbert's games just going to a next level. My 5th team, Tampa Bay, I think they're really underrated. I really do. Baker Mayfield is playing with a chip on his shoulder that I think a lot of teams need in their quarterback. It's a solid group. It's not a flashy team, but they know how to win playing team football. I think they're going to be a dangerous team going forward this season. Now, the 6th team, I'm pretty sure I know a lot of people that know me as a Ram fan are going to be surprised I don't have the Rams as number 1 because I am a Ram fan. I make decisions on teams up here, not with my heart. Yes, the Rams are 2-0, and as Keith said earlier, who have they beaten? They've beaten Tennessee and they've beaten Houston. You play the teams that are on your schedule. We're going to find out a lot about the Rams this weekend when they go to Philadelphia. Kyren Williams has yet to really get going. He's only averaging like 65, 66 yards a game rushing. The offensive line is still a little suspect in pass protection, and there's obviously concern with the lower back injury that Matt Stafford has. But when he's getting time, we're seeing Puka Nacua being one of the best receivers in the game, and then have Devontae Adams on the other side is making the Rams a very dangerous passing team. But where this team is doing much better is that young defense. We saw all last season they were getting better as the season went along. And now I think if they stay healthy, they have a very good chance of making the Super Bowl, because now we're seeing Byron Young playing opposites of Jared Verse, bringing pressure that he wasn't able to do last year. And it's just making the defense even better. I have Baltimore at 7. I have them a little bit lower only because the way they lost that opening week game to Buffalo. They shouldn't have blown a double-digit lead the way they did, as stacked as that team is. But still, it's going to come down between them and Buffalo in the AFC Championship game. I still give, right now I have it at 50.1 to 49.9, the edge to Buffalo. But Baltimore is going to be in the mix the entire season. Detroit at number 8, I just have a question after 2 weeks. Which Detroit team is real? The team we saw against the Packers, or the team that we saw against Chicago when they put up 52 points? It's an adjustment, losing both offensive and defensive coordinators. But the X factor that I don't really hear a lot of people talk about is their head coach, Dan Campbell. He's not a great X's and O's guy, but the players love to play for him. And that's what's making them successful. It's just that mindset he has. The players have bought into it. And they're going to go as far as he's willing to take them. Number 9, as much as I don't like the team, you have to give them respect. The San Francisco 49ers. Granted, it was against the New Orleans Saints, but to still win that game with Mac Jones as quarterback shows a lot. With Shanahan as a coach, he gets the right quarterback, even if it's not his normal starter, he can find a way to win. Those quarterbacks he brings in, they do well in his system. And Mac Jones was just the latest example of what he can do with a quarterback. That's why I have them at number 9. And I heard earlier today that there's a chance Purdy may be back for the Arizona game, which is a lot sooner than people are expecting. So Mac Jones is going to continue to carry this team until Purdy comes back, and don't be surprised if they start climbing the list on my rankings. Number 10, I really didn't have a back and forth on this one, like Keith mentioned for number 10. I had Indianapolis because they have impressed me. The first game, they beat Miami. It's Miami. It is what it is. But for the Colts to do what they did against Denver, and everyone expected Denver to have one of the top defenses in the league, outside of that boneheaded decision by Coach Payton, or Sean Payton, with the leverage on that 60-yard field goal attempt, the fact that the Colts were even that close to have a chance to win the game on that 60-yard attempt says a lot about how the Colts are playing. Danny Dimes, I think it did him well to leave into a new environment. You see a lot of team players like that. New situation, they tend to blossom. And I think he's going to do well with the Colts this year. That's why I have them in my top 10.
Okay. I understand we all have had an off season. We had a week 1 blunder where tons of performances may have jaded teams and their fan bases. But week 2 was week 2. All right. And I say that to say, because as we present the top 10 list of mine, it's going to result that. Okay. Let's make something very, very clear. My list is as fluid as water. It is what have you done for me lately? It is not what you do for me 2 weeks ago. It's not what you did for me last month. It's not what you did for me 3 years ago. What have you done for me lately is how I construct my list. All right? Now, I'm going to go 10-1. We'll start off with the 49ers at 10. Now, it was the Saints. It was the Seahawks. I don't know what you can really make of that as of yet. However, it seems like Shanahan could put me at quarterback. He could put you at quarterback. He'll find a way to have you throw 300 yards and win. Have 3 touchdowns. Have some fun. I don't know how this is working. Mac Jones, 3 touchdowns, 279 yards, and their defense has held both of their opponents under 21 points allowed, which I think is something to keep in mind with a defense that lost Drake Greenlaw this past offseason, that lost Trey Ufunga this past offseason, and also lost Leonard Floyd as well. So the fact that their defense is still playing well, led by Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, is fantastic. Number 9 is the Georgia's Rams. Their defense is something that I want to highlight, who, even though it's Tennessee this past week, they still have held both opponents that they've had on their schedule under 20 points in back-to-back games. And Puka Nacua, I love saying that name. It never gets old. He had 136 scrimmage yards and a touchdown this past Sunday. I don't think that's something that you can ignore as far as how the offense is starting to come together. Mind you, with Matt Stafford, who apparently has his back fine? Question mark? Who knows? But as of now, Rams are at 9. 8, I have the undefeated Indiana Jones-led Indianapolis Colts. They have had 29 plus points in back-to-back games. I don't think that's something that you can ignore or dismiss. Daniel Jones, I can't believe I'm saying this through this microphone. He threw for 316 yards, a touchdown, no picks. I'm going to say this again. Daniel Jones, the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, did not throw an interception. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't throw an interception against the Dolphins, who, even though we understand that they are the Dolphins, still, it's Daniel Jones we're talking about. Also want to mention Jonathan Taylor, who had 215 scrimmage yards, also had won Offensive Player of the Week in the AFC. 215 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. Incredible work from the Indianapolis Colts. And a surprise, now I ain't gonna lie, they're as low as they are for me because there is a certain team that also started this hot last year, the New Orleans Saints. And we saw how their season turned out last year. So we're just gonna hold our reservations and have the Colts today. 7, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I want to make this message to the NFL. I don't know what your reasoning is for why you do this to the Eagles every single year. I've noticed a trend. Every single season, we have to go on the road to Tampa in week 4. No other week in the entire year. We just so happen to go to Tampa to play the Buccaneers on the road in week 4. No other week throughout the year. No week 18, no week 13, no week 12, 11, 10, 9. No, week 4 in Tampa, Philly, Tampa. Starting to get tired of that. I ain't gonna lie, I'm starting to see something. Now, nevertheless, Baker Mayfield, he is a bad man. If y'all watched him on Monday night, that game-winning drive, it brought tears to my eye. It brought tears of joy to my eyes watching him play on that final drive. It was incredible. 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their running backs with Bucky Irving and Rashad White, 186 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. They are starting to put it together against some solid work on defense with Atlanta and now Houston without Tristan Wirfs. Now, Tristan Wirfs will be back as far as we're concerned this upcoming week. We'll see how that helps out the offense who is already soaring. But I have the Bucs at 7. 6, I have the Baltimore Ravens. People can say that this is kind of low, but hey, look, all right. You're 1-1. You have dropped 40+ points in back-to-back games. You cannot dismiss that. Lamar Jackson is still that dude. 225 yards and 4 touchdowns. We cannot dismiss that. I just feel like when you have a team in the Detroit Lions who had no problem dropping, I don't know, 52 points on the Chicago Bears with their quarterback in Jared Goff, who went 23 of 28, 334 yards, and not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, and no, my name is not LeBron James, but 5 touchdowns. I don't know how you don't look. I get it. If you want to be harsh and have them lower because of the fact that they played against the Packers and it did not look great, I do not hate you for it. However, in my list, they are top 5. Also, their running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sonic, and Knuckles. I always seem to mix up the nickname these days. Sonic and Knuckles had a combined 151 yards and 2 touchdowns this past Sunday. Incredible work by their offense. Seems like whenever Ben Johnson is on the field in Detroit, they seem to put up a lot of points. You don't even necessarily have to have him on the sideline. He just has to be on the field. Who knew? 4th, I have my defending Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles, at 4. Do want to highlight their defense. They have held both their teams that they've played so far under 21 points, which is something that is pretty underrated. Not very many people are talking about it. Also want to highlight Saquon Barkley, who had 88 yards, a touchdown, and averaged 4 yards per carry. It wasn't a good win, but I'd rather take a ugly win than a pretty loss. Okay? So I have the Eagles at 4. I have the Chargers at 3. Now, granted, the Raiders are not the world beaters, so we all understand that. However, when you have a quarterback in Justin Herbert who had 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and had a defense who was able to cause not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions in a divisional matchup, which, as we saw this past weekend, where anything can happen, Cowboys and Giants, you just never know. So the fact that the Chargers were able to play that well in division, along with how they played against the Chiefs the week before, they are number 3 on my list. Number 2, I have the Green Bay Packers, 27 plus points in back-to-back games. I do want to highlight a tight end who played out of his mind on Thursday night. His name is Tucker Kraft. If you had him on your fantasy team, he probably won you the week by himself. Okay. 6 receptions, 124 yards, along with a touchdown. Played unconscious. It felt like Washington just decided that, you know what? I don't think they have any tight ends on their roster, so we're just not going to cover them. We're going to act like they don't exist. It's not a position of need that we have to worry about on defense. And came back to bite them. Number 1 is the Buffalo Bills. 30 plus points in back-to-back games. I don't think that's something that you can take away. Even if it's the fact that they played the Jets. It's still the NFL where the most randomest results happen. But I do want to highlight James Cook, who found a way to have 132 yards and 2 touchdowns and average 6.3 yards per carry. This is an offense where we have talked about ad nauseum about how reliant it is on Josh Allen. Josh Allen this, Josh Allen that, Josh Allen this, Josh Allen that. But when you have performances like James Cook, it is, if you are a Bills fan, very encouraging to know that it doesn't have to be Josh Allen dependent. That you can give the rock to James Cook and he can do what he did this past Sunday and get into the end zone 2 times and put up 100 plus yards rushing. So that is my top 10 list. I don't think the comment section will hate my list this time around, but as I have learned last season, I can never be so sure. That's fine. Now, I do have a couple questions off of the list that y'all have shared with me. Again, do not take this as a blight or anything like this. This is just out of curiosity. Always know this, that when I ask these questions, these are out of curiosity, okay? Randall, how does a team that dropped 52 points end up at 10 on your list? How do the Detroit Lions end at 10 for your list? How does that happen?
Well, first it was one game, and they got blown out by the Packers, and it was week 1 with the Packers. So I believe Micah Parsons only had 20 snaps, 23 snaps. He was still influential, but it seemed like they were in a big hiccup. I think they really do have a center problem, and I think that when it came down to it, beating the Bears is either Ben Johnson just kind of got in his own head or it just never really happened. But putting up 52 against the OC, I think, is kind of more of a fluke. And I'm still trying to figure out their defensive line. I think overall their defensive line is not the greatest, especially with Aiden Hutchinson coming back on there. And then Tyreek Williams being that centerpiece as a 3-tech, and he does not have interior pressure. So where is their interior pressure coming from? And then having Aiden Hutchinson outside, still kind of getting back from his injury. I do like their running backs. I think Knuckles is getting a little bit slower with his injury from last year, so it'll be more on Jahmyr Gibbs, so you can plan ahead on that. Their weapons are good. I think in a match, I need to see more consistency from the Detroit Lions to put them any higher than number 10. And it was rough. I mean, I also like the Seattle Seahawks, so I have them kind of like right at 11, to be honest with you, because I really like their front 4. So it was kind of tough. I almost took them out of the top 10. I just need to see more consistency that they are going to be who they were last year with both coordinators gone, and the up and down just makes me a little afraid that they won't be consistent. Interesting.
Okay. Well, George, and no, I'm not picking on you because we play each other this week, so don't make any faces. All right. I do have a question though. In your list, You have the 49ers over the Indiana Jones led. Yes, I am coining that nickname for this team for the fact that their quarterback is Daniel Jones. You had the 49ers over the Colts. Why is that?
Well, like I said, the fact that, and again, I know it's the Saints. We know what they aren't. But the fact that he went in there with another quarterback and he played as well as he did, and a lot of changes the Niners have made. You figure they lost Deebo. Well, they got rid of Deebo Samuel. I don't know. It's just I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. I don't have them going to the playoffs. I didn't even expect them to start the season 2-0. They're playing better than I thought. Same with the Colts. They're both playing a lot better than I expected. But for Shanahan to go in with another quarterback in just the second week, and for him to play the way he did, I just had to put him above, what Danny Dimes is doing with the Colts right now. Like you said, we saw the Saints start off 2-0 last year, and what happened? Is everything clock gonna strike midnight on the Colts this week? We don't know, but Shanahan made a believer of me as he's a very good regular season head coach. He's a quarterback whisperer. He sees what he's doing with any quarterback. Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, and he took him to a Super Bowl. Shanahan knows how to work with these guys, and that's why I have him ahead of the Colts, because really it's because of Shanahan.
Okay. So to go from all these lists where we highlighted the best teams in argumentation, in debate, whatever the case may be, the best teams in the NFL, this is my favorite part of the show, because this is the part of the show where we don't get to talk about them, because everybody talks about them. You name the network, you name the show, they talk about all the best teams there is in the NFL. Brings in all the views, all the numbers, great stuff. But my great pride and joy is taking the time out to acknowledge the worst teams in the NFL. Now, we don't just have a bottom 5 list, although we should coin that. And we have coined that in the past. We did that this past season. We did it last season. But I've noticed that with them being the worst, sometimes just like taking a dump, sometimes you smell the worst too. So not only are they the worst in the NFL, they're also the stinky 5 list of the NFL. This is by far, it doesn't get much worse than these teams. And this is an opportunity to make fun of these teams for their mediocrity on this past Sunday. We get to take pride in it. We get to take joy in it. So don't hold back. Don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're going to hurt anybody's feelings, because, well, guess what? They earned it. They deserve to be on this list. So with that being said, the very first iteration of the Stinky 5 list, I'm going to choose. George, what is your Stinky 5 list look like?
Well, I should have put Miami number 1, just is an obvious, but I have them. I don't know why I have them number 5. Just when I was thinking of the bottom dwellers, for some reason that was the last name that popped into my head. But they should be the worst team in the NFL, and just 2 words really to explain it: Coach McDaniel. Cleveland. It's bad when you got 2 rookies on your quarterbacks on your roster, and you're going with a 41-year-old Joe Flacco as your quarterback, and you're paying Deshaun Watson millions of dollars in guaranteed money to basically watch the game from home. So it's just, the organization is just pathetic. So they have to be on that list. The Giants, I know some of you guys might be surprised I put the Giants on the list. I know they had a great game. Well, they scored a lot of points against Dallas, but I don't think, and I might be in the minority here, I don't think Dallas is that good. So for them to do it, I wasn't overly impressed. I just think it's a team in turmoil. Carolina, well, let's just, I call him Bryce Bum, and that's more just to irritate my son, who's a fan of him. Bryce Young, he did have a good game in week 2, but Carolina is having issues developing players. They really don't have the weapons around him. It's just a poorly run team, and they're just gonna keep dwelling in the bottom of the barrel. And then we have the Jets end the season already. Jets. I know the fans are already chanting that. I think it was a mistake hiring Aaron Glenn. They needed to go with an offensive mind because they just proved the previous head coach in Saleh it wasn't working with a defensive minded head coach. And I think Aaron Glenn deserves a head coaching job, but just not with that team. And now they're going to be without Justin Fields. I know he's already been ruled out for week 3. And so they're going to start the season 0-3, and I think Jet fans are already looking who's going to be the number 1 pick next year. I think they're already expecting to have the number 1 pick. But I should have flip-flopped. I should have put Miami at number 1 because I think that is probably the stinkiest team in the NFL that we've seen for quite some time.
Huh. Okay. Now, quick question. There is a glaring team that I feel is missing on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the hell is the New Orleans Saints? Where are they? Why aren't they here?
Well, I thought about them. They're right there. Like if we could have done a 5B, they would have been in the list. But we're like I said, bottom 5 top 5 stinkiest teams. I could have replaced them with the Giants, but I just don't like the directions of the Giants, and I'm willing to give Kellen Moore the benefit of the doubt. He has growing pains, and I know the roster isn't that great in New Orleans, but I think he has a chance to turn that team around. Playoff team, no, but I do think they have a chance to improve. The Giants, as long as Russell Wilson's a starting quarterback, I just don't see it. I still don't think he's recovered from that interception in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, because he hasn't really been the same. He'll give you flashes of what he used to be, but it's not consistent.
Huh. Well, I mean, I'm more than inclined to agree with you when the game ends like this. Oh, I think Malik Neighbors is there somewhere. Can't see him. Don't even want to think about looking down the field. I think he's somewhere. I'm going to just launch it straight to Donovan Wilson. Wilson to Wilson connection? What was that? Anyways, well done, George. That was a great stinky 5 list. And there hasn't been a better sound made this entire night. I love that sound. Anyways, I do want to take a split second to thank everyone for joining us tonight on the Rankings Roundtable show. I'm actually glad that our first episode is on week 2, because we have a tendency to go off of week 1 and overreact and be like, oh my God. Well, week 1 is kind of like the continued iteration of the preseason. Nobody knows who's who. Somebody's hurt. We got somebody that got hurt in the middle of training camp. This changed, that changed. All these different things happen. Random stuff happens in week 1. So I'm glad that we start this thing on week 2. So I'm gonna have to keep that in mind internally. Now, with that being said, I do want to thank you, all of you, who have liked, have commented, who have decided to embark on the foolishness that is our top 10 list, respectively, and our stinky list led by our very own George Lopez. We greatly appreciate you. Now, before we get out of here, George, I would like to have you let everybody know where they can follow you at and where they can follow your work.
Well, I cover most of the LA sports teams for Team NBS Media. As you can see, I go by the other G Lopez. I let the comedian use my name, so I don't use my full name on social media. So I just dropped. Well, it should drop tomorrow. I cover the USC Trojans for college football, so that article will drop tomorrow, and then I'll have my preview article ready to drop for Friday, covering the Rams game against your Philadelphia Eagles. Even on IG, you can find me. I go under the other G Lopez. That's where you'll find me. You can find all my work there.
All right. You let him use your name. What is this, a trademark? Anyways, Keith, where can they find you at, and where can they find your work, buddy?
Oh yeah, it says right there at 5280 Keith. That's on the Twitter. I'm not gonna call it ads because that's stupid.
Thank you.
My man.
I'm also trying to get some brand on Blue Sky. A little bit tougher because there's not a whole lot going on over there, but same at 5280 Keith. Cover most things Colorado sports. I continue to refuse to cover the Rockies. Just not doing it. My main boo right now, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, is the real football, which is the one that the rest of the world calls football. I do a lot with the Colorado Rapids, who are making a playoff push right now. USA Soccer, men's and women's, definitely some NWSL. Colorado just got a team, looking forward to that. And just general chat about whatever.
All right. Well done, Keith. Randall, where can they find your work, and where can they find you?
All right, yeah, at Randall Slifer on Twitter and Blue Sky as well. And I do Arkansas Razorbacks and Buffalo Bills for Team NBS Media. I also do a college football recap with the great Greg Rector on Saturdays at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. I also do a Buffalo Bills podcast with Two Champions on Mondays at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. And that is it. Oh, and I also do scouting with draft professors on Tuesdays as well. We are covering 50 college wide receivers before the draft hits come January.
Awesome. And of course, I have to do myself, because I would do myself a disservice if I don't. Of course, the name, Thomas Brown Jr. here on full display. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram, on X, Twitter, however you want to use, however you want to say it. At __ Terrific Tom _ because it's infinite around here. On Instagram, on X. I think that is about it. You can follow me there. Obviously, I'm the host of the Rankings Roundtable show. It has been a little while. I am getting my feet wet. This is actually first time in a long time that I've been on front of the camera in a little bit. Off the Dome will be back. The Off the Dome podcast will be back soon. We just have to figure out some minor details. We have some work obligations to follow, so the time and the day may change, may vary, okay? But what doesn't vary, what won't change, at least as far as I'm concerned, is the Rankings Roundtable show, which will be here every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Follow us on all of our platforms at Team NBS Media, teamnbsmedia.com, on our website, where we have great articles from some of our best at Team NBS Media. From Thomas, from George, from Keith, from Randall. Thank y'all so much for joining us tonight, and see y'all next week. Y'all the greatest. Be safe.